Hi, Luke. How are you?
Hi, Rachel. I'm great. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Obviously, your character is of very much importance to the series because when we get the snippets of everyone's kind of therapy sessions in the beginning, he's the one who ends up, we follow more as the series goes on in the first four episodes at least. And so, for you as an actor, what was kind of the joy of getting to be like that character for someone? Like we went on your journey with you versus, the brief little therapy sessions that we've gotten.
As always, as an actor, great to get hired. Period. Oh, it's just the best thing. Got a job. Thank the Lord. But in this case, it was like, wow, this isn't just any job. This is an opportunity to really bring to life a character that it will probably help a lot of people to watch. In addition to that, Jason Segel, Harrison Ford, Michael Urie, Jessica Williams, Lukita Maxwell, you know what I'm saying? Brett Goldstein, Bill Lawrence, Neil Goldman, just name
Mhm.
dropping a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So that's awesome too. But from just the artist side, phew, what a story. I'm just glad to be here to tell it.
Yeah, and Sean has one of my favorite moments. I mean, I'm a huge Harrison Ford fan, like love of my life. Pretty sure like I no man will ever stand up to Harrison Ford in my eyes. However, within this series, which I do think is some of his best work, and I've seen all of his stuff, Sean has one of my favorite moments in the whole series, and it's when he basically is just like, "This guy's messing with my dude," and just beats him up for him. And I was just like, "This is great!" Like that's the character of Sean in a nutshell, where he's like, "I make decisions that aren't the best, but I'm doing it for the right reasons." And is that something that kind of appealed to you for him as a character, or is it something you
Absolutely.
was?
And you articulated the process of that so wonderfully. That is exactly like the mental space that I visited to play that portion of the script. Like Sean's doing his best not to just stab for no reason.
Mhm.
For no reason. Let's not give Sean a reason. Somebody gave Sean a reason and they found out. And I think Jimmy is absolutely worth fighting for. All the hoops he goes through, not only to make it up to Sean when he felt insulted that Jimmy wasn't listening, but to make sure that Sean would make significant progress, not just another client. He's doing things differently. I think that I think Sean's journey, the reason why we follow him is because there's a lot of physical things to help us alongside his mental health. We see him learn a physical trade, something physical to mark his progress that will coincide with his mental growth. And I think that's a really cool device. And the first time I'm really noticing that, man, these writers are something special, huh? It's a great idea.
Well, and it is kind of the show does as a whole ride on Sean as a character because Jimmy is putting everything on the line to make sure that this guy is getting the help that he needs. And it is not the typical therapy route, but he's doing it because he's like, oh no, but Sean needs my help. And this is how I kind of have to do it. For you, like obviously you listed the people that are working on this ensemble piece because that's what it is. There's not like, yes, Harrison Ford and Jason Segel and Jessica Williams are in it, but it is an ensemble piece and everyone kind of flows together. Is that ever daunting? Like knowing, like, yes, it's all flowing around Jimmy and Sean, because if either of those characters fail, the show itself kind of doesn't work.
You know what? I never even considered it like that. I from my perspective, it seemed like the show was geared towards Jimmy and Alice and seeing how his work life affects her. And I actually hadn't considered that. But when I take a step back and I look at like what's at stake for his career, that does actually track. And I think that what that does for the viewer is it probably just has them sitting in their seats cheering and rooting to make sure that if Sean messes up, hopefully he fails forward, which he does at the end of the first episode. He's taking a step in the right direction. It's the wrong step, but at least it's forward. At
Yes.
least it's forward. And yeah, that's a pretty good observation. I hadn't considered that at all, but I'm hoping that when people watch it, they feel that, come on, you can do this. You got this. That sort of you want to throw something at your TV screen, hoping that your favorite character does that thing you want them to do. You know.
But yeah, and this is a show that like we got 4 episodes, and I truly was just like, oh, well, where's more? Like I
Mm,
want more. I don't want I like I need more. Like I need to see the rest of it. And from because I'm greedy, not because it was like I need more to talk. It's like, no, I want them personally because I like
yeah.
this show is very good. And it comes with the writing because Bill Lawrence and Brett Goldstein are both writers who have they find ways of making characters very funny, but also the most emotional. Like Ted Lasso is one of those series that you're sobbing while you're laughing. And then this is kind of the same way where you're like, Street and see why I'm laughing at him, but also he is so sad.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the most fun to get to play in that where they're so real and funny, but they also have those moments where you are rooting for them, but you're crying because you understand what they're going through.
What's so great about working on this production is the structure that Doozer and Jason kind of have. There's like a sort of routine when you set up, you rehearse, you figure out how it's going to play out, then you do the words, and everybody does their homework. Everybody comes prepared. There's not one day I've come to set and seen a performer who's like struggling to get it together. Nah, they know what this is. They all come ready, and it's amazing. It's intimidating. But after we get the words, then we play. And when I say play, I mean we play like the stuff that Jason comes up with. And I don't know if he like makes it up at home and then comes to work and then does it. I don't know. I can't. It's just he's so inventive and creative every time he um, contributes some sort of improv, and it always keeps me on my toes, and it makes me want to improve, and it makes me want to get better just so I can like hang in there with him, because I do work with him a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fun, but it's also, it's nerve-wracking because you want to make sure if this dude is making me laugh, then that means I can't, so that everybody else can laugh at home, because I'm not about to break when he's giving such wonderful, just good stuff for the camera. He's hilarious.
That's the secret to improv is everyone just plans it at home and then
Oh, man,
bring it.
I don't know how he does it. Like, how does he come up with some of this stuff? Man, it's funny.
With this show, Sean does have, I guess it's technically the Rumble approach to therapy, which is, I don't know if you know what Rumble is, but it's where you go and you box and you do a workout circuit with boxing. And it's very like therapeutic to like go and just box.
Mhm.
But that's kind of what he's doing in this show. It's Jimmy realizing he needs to get that aggression out in some way in doing this. What how much of the character did you get to inform? Like did you get to be like, yeah, I like boxing and so they added that, or what of you got to be a part of Sean?
So what's wild is what you just said is pretty much how it went. They're like, what kind of
That's
stuff are you
awesome.
into? And then I said the kind of stuff I was into, and then I get the scripts. I'm like, hey, did you guys? And it's never like, hey, guess what? Look what we did. It's always just like, they so smooth with it. I'm like, what's it? And they're like, yeah, you know how this, we just keep this how we do. I'm like, yo, because I think their goal is to use things that the performers are comfortable with, even if the characters aren't. Because then as a performer, you're not starting from zero. You're
Mhm.
starting from something above zero, and then you get to go to zero, and then we get to watch the character grow in something that ideally they are proficient in. But yeah, for me, I loved stage combat when I went to theater school, and then I did do quite a bit of boxing over the past 2 years for cardio and just to kind of learn something that helps you get in your body. Because I like lifting weights and stuff, but like that, all that does is make you stronger, which is very good, but it doesn't actually build any sort of like martial reality when it comes to like handling violence. The more you start to learn any sort of martial art, the more you realize, like you start to speak another language. So that's what I wanted to learn with boxing, and it's cool to watch Sean learn that as well.
And I do have a question. It's very actory. Sorry. I also was a theater major, so I always ask
Oh, great!
questions about processes. But so with something like that, where you're taking your mind off of the action because it's something you already know to like focus more on the character, Is that something that is more exciting for you, or do you like being pushed on the other side of things where it is two things out of your comfort zone?
Well, oh, that's a lovely question. So I think generally, uh, the best performances that come out of me are when there's something I'm familiar with and something I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, which is great. So it's like I'm familiar with striking, which is boxing, but I
Mm-hmm.
have no idea about like groundwork. So they made that a part of Sean's character. He's strong. He's a tall guy. He's a big guy. You don't want to get hit by him, but he has no idea what's going on when somebody like starts to grapple him. Like, what is this? How do I even? And that's literally where I was when I started working on that scene. When he's learning and getting wrecked, and I really didn't know that ground stuff, so I wasn't acting like I didn't know. I didn't know it, but I did know some striking. And now I'm actually training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because I'm hoping that this is something that will continue to build for Sean, and I want to be prepared. So it usually works best for me when like there's some sort of gateway that I'm familiar with, and then something I have to learn for the character. It just that dichotomy kind of helps you be good at something. Yes, good job. And then there's this other thing you're just trash at that you have to do homework on. You get your positive reinforcement, and then you get your hey, you need to make sure to work on this. So that kind of works for me.
Well, I had another question I was going to ask after that, but then you made me want to ask something on that.
Oh,
So
cool.
with season two, obviously, again, I've only seen the first four episodes, which I'm
Hmm.
mad about. I want to watch the rest of this season.
Great.
Where is somewhere that you want to take Sean, whether or not it is something that we will see in the end of this season
Hmm.
or in another season of Shrinking?
Well, for me, for sure, I'd love to see him. Like, I want to see a difference in him in learning this martial art. I want him to continue doing that and honing his skill. And I hope that for me, I hope that he would find a sort of camaraderie in that arena the same way I did when I played football. Because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't very good at football. Sean's not very good at this stuff either, but it wasn't about that kept me on the field. So I'm hoping that's not what keeps him in the ring. I'm hoping it's like friends. I hope we see Sean make friends and develop relationships where he's not in this alone. Because I think that he's mistaken in that nobody would want to spend time with somebody like him. I think Jimmy isn't just spending time with him because it's his job, but because there's actually something in Sean worth spending time with him. I think for Jimmy,
Mm-hmm.
if he can help Sean heal, he himself is healing as well.
Yeah, I do like that he's kind of just like adopted Sean. That was like my favorite thing. He was like, "No, this is my best friend. This is my boy. Like he's living in my house."
Yeah.
I grew up. My mom is that way. We have a big Italian family. She would just adopt people, and I was like, I guess they live with us now. So I was like, yeah, Jimmy, the rules. Just
Yeah, like
adopt.
there's something. Oh, that's so great to hear that like connected for you because that is a real thing. If someone's like under no
Mhm.
circumstances with that, it's like nah, bro. It just depends on what communities you're from and whether that's weird for Jimmy in terms of like the legality of it. It's
Mhm.
not weird in terms of his heart. He knows it's the right thing to do, and that's important for us to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I've had so many cousins that just live with us, and I'm like,
It's just
I don't.
family now,
That's my new. Yep. They live in
It's what it
upstairs at my
is.
mom's. With the show though, it is like I said, it's such an ensemble piece to the point where there are characters that you were like, oh yeah, I would see. Like I started the show thinking Harrison Ford was going to only talk to Jason Segel, and then was shocked by how much all of these characters like all are interwoven because of Jimmy. How was that for you? Like coming into this as Sean, knowing like most of my scenes are with Jason Segel, but then getting to kind of work with everybody to bring this story to life.
Great question, and that's a thing about a Doozer project. Like Bill, if you look at all his litany of legendary work, like there's, Lasso and Cougar Town and Scrubs, and there's usually an ensemble that's
Mm-hmm.
making the show function. But what makes the show so much better than just good is the fact that there is always a realistic and grounded justification as to why two characters who wouldn't otherwise be in the same room would connect. So there's always going to be some lessons being learned or some messages or thoughts being exchanged from two characters who you would never imagine together. Like, that's very challenging to do from a plot perspective. But I think it's what separates a show that's good from a show like Ted Lasso or Shrinking. It's just like there's a difference between good and great. And I think that these writers, I don't know, they're just so addicted to excellence that they can't help but make these characters interact in a way that's positive and encouraging and inspiring for a lot of the viewers.
Yeah, and they are a masterclass in characters because it's like 90% of the time I'm like, I don't know sorry to swear, I don't know jack shit about soccer. And if I'm like, great, I want them to win because you just care about character. But I did talk when I talked to Bill, I mentioned that like I loved the show Spin City as a kid, and I have just
Oh,
progressively
cool.
kept watching his stuff, which he called me 90 because he was like, no one under the age of 90 has ever brought up Spin City. But it is a staple of his shows to kind of have those. It's down to like how these characters all talk to each other. It doesn't matter where they are, what they're doing, it's the characters. And so, sort of a final question, what would you describe Shrinking as and Sean as to audiences who are coming to this with no idea about what Shrinking or a Bill Lawrence show is?
Hmm. I describe Shrinking as a dramedy about grief and learning what it means to be a good person. And I would describe Sean as Sean's an enigma. He's somebody who wants to improve, but the only thing in his way is Sean. So more often than not, when he's in that ring working out his problems, he's not fighting whoever's across from him. He's fighting Sean. And the more he gets better at figuring out how to fight Sean, I think eventually he'll be able to work with himself and with Jimmy to focus on improving and becoming a healthy young person who will be able to handle his problems in a reasonable way. The other thing is, that dude's hard on himself. So I hope that eventually he learns to love himself. What's up?
Sorry, my fire alarm just started going off because my roommate was cooking something, but I
Oh, you
had
get
canned
it.
anyway. I just wanted to say, I can't wait for people to actually get to see this show because I've just been sitting on how good it is for so long that I'm like, wait, that's right, people haven't even like watched Shrinking yet. So now I get to experience everyone finding out how good this show is. And I think they're gonna love you and Sean probably the most because it's such a good story to get to see unfold.
Thank you very much, and I'm really glad
Sure.
that you like it. I'm a fan of this show too. Like, they really made this thing good. Like, I really think that it's gonna help. I hope it helps people. I hope it makes people realize they can go and get help. You know, it demystifies the whole therapy thing.
Yeah,
Just sign
I
up.
hope.
You know,
Same. Thank you so much for talking with me today. It was an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to get to see the rest of the season.
great meeting you. Great speaking
Nice
with you.
meeting
Thank you very
you.
much.